for the revolution.
Sounds like Vegas.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? You're back. I'm your host, Paco, and you're listening to Occupy the Media. I want to thank you if you're tuning in. Don't forget that I'll be on later today on ronpaulradio.com at 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, so first thing I want to go ahead and jump into before we run out of time here. Let's see here. Ron Paul wins popular vote in North Carolina, but Ron Paul will control more delegates in November. This is at Policy Mike. So let's go ahead and check this out. Hold on one second. Yeah, let's see. Okay. They're already admitting it. We're going to win all these delegates, man. Tuesday, Indiana held a primary. Most years by May, a primary doesn't mean much. This year is different. The presumed frontrunner Mitt Romney is fighting tooth and nail to see to it that his opponent does not even make it into the running at the Republican National Convention in Tampa. August 27th to the 30th. Even Fox News had to admit that Mitt Romney already lost that fight. Ron Paul will be one of the two nominees in the running at the nominating convention. There's an important reason the Romney campaign doesn't even want Paul's name mentioned. They have no idea how many delegates they actually control. You see, you might think the Romney campaign could just open up the newspaper to learn the delegate numbers that Romney controls, but that's not the case. The newspaper only shows grossly inaccurate general estimates of delegates. Some delegates are bound by honor to vote for Mitt Romney. Others are bound by state law. Some can be unbound. Others are not bound at all. Many delegates become unbound after just one vote. Isn't all of them unbound? I think in the rules, we don't have to vote if we don't want to. Abstain from voting. Okay, on the second vote at the RNC, we will see for the first time what kind of loyalty Paul and Romney each command from the delegates. The results will be very uncomfortable for Mitt Romney to have shown on national television. Furthermore, the results of a brokered convention can lead to a situation like the 1920 Republican National Convention where Warren G. Harding walked in with 7% of delegates and left with the nomination and presidency later on. Let's see here. In 3 months after having gone on a family road trip and having some time to think about the next generation, many delegates who are undecided and leaning towards Romney might fall on the side of principle, just like Ron Paul said, over the status quo of D.C. That will mean a vote for Paul over Romney. Some delegates will think about the wisdom of voting for someone with no plan for cutting the debt over someone with a clearly laid out and drastic plan for balancing the budget within 3 years. Paul writes the ship that we will pass on to our children. Romney is just more Obama, who has turned out to just be more Bush. All of that was a preface to ask you, dear reader, to essentially ignore the results out of Indiana today as anything more than estimates. On June 8th and 9th at the Indiana Republican Convention, we'll get a better estimate of how Indiana will vote at the RNC based on the will of the Indiana delegates who show up. Delegates will be selected that weekend, 35% of whom will be officially unpledged to any candidate. On August 30th, as the RNC comes to an end, we'll have an even better idea of how Indiana voted. Until then, it's entirely up in the air. Anything can happen at a convention attended by people with that unpredictable combination of conscience and free will. And let's see here. Yeah, man. So we're going to get the delegates out of Indiana, out of every state. What was this at? This is talking about they will control more of the delegates. Okay, so yeah, this one says Mitt Romney won the popular vote Tuesday, but Ron Paul will control more delegates in November. Okay, so I guess they're talking about Indiana, and they're already admitting that there might be a second vote. What happened? I thought we ain't even going to get that far. Now, this other one, I thought they were the same headline, but they're not. Ron Paul wins popular vote in North Carolina, but Ron Paul will win the delegates. This is also on Policy Mike. Instead of using the easily manipulated popular vote to determine the strength of a candidate in North Carolina, the media would offer a better indication of the strength of candidates by downplaying the less relevant popular vote and focusing on the North Carolina Republican Convention. On Tuesday, North Carolina held a Republican Party primary, and media sweetheart Mitt Romney won the popular vote with 66% of the vote. This might be significant if either the GOP nomination or the presidency were decided by popular vote totals. They aren't. They are instead decided by delegates, and in the case of the GOP nomination especially, delegates are hard to predict. When a broker convention takes place, as may happen this year, these delegates become even harder to predict. And think about it. There ain't one Ron Paul supporter that's going to jump on the Romney ship, but it will happen the other way around. From June 1st to June 3rd, North Carolina will have a Republican convention with which, if many other state conventions predict a trend, will be dominated by Ron Paul supporters and anti-Romney factions who threaten to figure out some method for unbinding the popular vote totals, seemingly in contradiction with state law. North Carolina Republicans will meet at that convention to decide who the delegates will be. And let's see here. Realizing that the media delegate totals are far from accurate, the Romney campaign has been frantically attempting to change its own party rules to limit the influence of Republican voters. When that has failed, the Romney camp settles for manipulation. In an attempt to protect a fragile Romney from the indomitable Paul supporters, RNC Chief Counsel John Felipe Jr. made the audaciously silly claim that an entire state, Nevada, would not be welcome to the national convention this year if it showed support for Ron Paul. Felipe's threatening letter was dealt with appropriately by Nevada Republicans. They laughed at it. After all, it was nothing more than an empty threat from a D.C. attorney and Romney supporter in an attempt to save face for Romney's lagging campaign. Only by ignoring the details of the nomination process could anyone say there is currently a clear front-runner. Only by ignoring the meager posturing of Romney's campaign and allies could Romney be construed as that front-runner. And only by ignoring North Carolina's electoral procedure could anyone say that today's easy-to-comprehend vote totals are more important than the very complicated and difficult-to-report North Carolina Republican Convention and the 52 national delegates scheduled to be chosen there the weekend of June 1st. So we are going to take North Carolina. We're going to take every state, man. Take every state. Show no mercy. Oh, I don't want nothing to do with the establishment. You know what I'm saying? I know we got to be nice and play ball and be respectful like Ron Paul, and I'm all for that. We need to do that. That is true. But, you know, at the end of the day, I don't want to hear nothing from them. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to shake their hand over the gavel, hand over the power, and get out of the room. You know what I'm saying? Just leave. Leave the country. Let's see. What else we got going on here before we go to a break? Yes, police have admitted to drugging Occupy Wall Street protesters. This came out that the police was giving drugs to protesters in exchange for information about what their plans are. The Minnesota Department of Public Safety issued a press release today announcing the suspension of a drug recognition program conducted by the Minnesota State Patrol. The program was exposed earlier this month by activists. And let's see here. Prior to the press release, Eric Roski, a State Patrol public information officer, said, quote, "There's been no evidence or no information that has been presented to us that would substantiate any of the allegations," unquote. City Pages reports today, which is a lie. We have it on video. Our investigation points to particular efforts to target and recruit youth, ostensibly for a program designed to train police in detecting drivers under the influence of drugs. That was reported on May 2012, which is ridiculous. Following the publication of the story and accompanying video, Minnesota Public Safety Commissioner Mona Doman initiated a criminal investigation into allegations that Hutchinson police officer provided marijuana to a potential subject in Minnesota's drug evaluation and classification training program last week. All right, so we'll be back. I'm your host, Paco. We're headed to a break.
One serial hypocrite exposed.
He went the other way when he got paid to go the other way.
Now, another has emerged. Rick Santorum, a corporate lobbyist and Washington politician, a record of betrayal. The facts? Santorum promised a balanced budget amendment, then voted 5 times to raise the debt ceiling, even for the bridge to nowhere, adding trillions to the debt. Then he admitted, "I'm no longer a deficit hawk. I had to spend the surpluses." Santorum promised to stand with workers, then sided with big money union bosses and opposed the Right to Work Act. Santorum promised to fight the special interests, then took the most lobbyist cash in Washington and was named one of the most corrupt members in Congress. America's challenges are too great. Don't be fooled. Rick Santorum, a record of betrayal, another serial hypocrite who can't be trusted.
I'm Ron Paul, and I approve this message.
Dr. Ron Paul. More than 4,000 babies delivered. a man.